Burnout, one of the early signs what differs from stress is when you start skipping on self-care. When you skip lunch, when you wake up earlier, when you go to sleep later, when you skip gym. Depression is about not wanting to do anything, and burnout is about wanting to do nothing. When I hit burnout a couple of times myself.
Hi everyone, my name is Paula. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Pulsetto, and today we're gonna talk about burnout, what is the differentiation between stress, anxiety, but in general we're gonna dig deep into the topic of burnout. Today we have an expert, Paula, who is consulting people about this topic, and we want to dig deeper how it plays a role in your day-to-day life, how we can spot it, how we can evaluate it, and maybe how we can tackle it. So thank you very much for being here, and let's start from the first question. What is burnout and how to identify it?
Hello everyone. So what is burnout? It's defined as a complete physical, mental, and psychological exhaustion. And it usually manifests in three different dimensions, so-called dimensions. So one is emotional exhaustion. The second is depersonalization, or feeling some sort of distance between yourself and your peers or your work. And the third dimension is perceived lack of accomplishment. And the key word here is perceived, because a person might be actually going through the motions, doing their work, but feeling like they're not doing much. Nothing is happening. It's not going anywhere. So these are the three main so-called dimensions, and every symptom, every sign of burnout will usually fall under one of these three.
And let's say, what are the main symptoms of burnout? In general, let's say from physical or mental, what can person tries to feel, and how to start to identify that it is a burnout, not just stress.
Okay, so when it's just stress, you might still feel motivation, some sort of desire to go forward to do things, even though you're carrying a lot, but you're still excited about it, you still enjoy it. But when burnout comes, you don't enjoy it anymore. There's no motivation left. You just in some cases, people have to stop working completely. In other cases, they can continue and carry on, but it feels like they're doing it as some sort of robot, as an android, as a zombie, just going through the motions, but not really feeling connected to it. So some signs might be physical exhaustion, but not for everyone. Other people feel emotional exhaustion. So that is lack of motivation, lack of desire, lack of drive. People feel disconnected from their work, from their peers.
So if I'm waking up and I already feel tired, is it like a sign of stress or anxiety or depression or burnout? Or is it somewhere in the middle?
It can be all of it. It can just be a sign of poor sleep hygiene. You might just need to look at your sleep and you might sort it out. But it can be one of the signs of burnout.
Okay, and how widely burnout is, let's say, spread? Is there any statistics on which you can point?
Yeah, there are a lot of statistics, although I have to preface it with the fact that it's very hard to measure. There are many numbers, and also it's a quite a difficult thing to measure because people don't want to talk about it. It's a vulnerable topic. But if we look at some numbers, approximate numbers would be around 40% of general population would go through burnout, and up to 80% of more vulnerable populations. So that would be marginalized group like women or minorities or people with chronic illnesses, people with small children, people with, for example, ADHD, autism, post-traumatic stress disorder. So there's quite a lot of people who are in this vulnerable group who are more prone and might have up to 80% of prevalence of burnout.
So if we are digging deeper, how can we identify, let's say, stress versus burnout? What can we, let's say, try to spot in the early stages?
Okay, so let's start with similarities, okay?
Yeah.
The similarities are that, yes, people who are heading towards burnout, they are usually experiencing a lot of stress. And both people who are stressed and who are burnt out, they usually are very busy people, very stressed people. And I say one of the early signs before you even hit burnout is when you think either that, oh my God, there's so much to do, or you are super excited about something big coming up. Oh my God, this is the big exciting project. There's this amazing opportunity. I'm just gonna go and smash it. And this is when you need to be careful and really watch if you're taking care of yourself. And burnout, one of the early signs as well, what differs from stress, is when you start skipping on self-care. When you skip lunch, when you wake up earlier, when you go to sleep later, when you skip gym, when you skip maybe some pleasurable activity, time with your partner, time with your kids, time with your friends. When you start skipping on these things that actually nurture you, that can be food, that can be sleep, that could be pleasurable activities, that could be sport, quite a few things.
Okay, but let's say stress versus anxiety, I know a little bit of difference. But I think there are 4, let's say, not diseases, but illnesses which falls under the same basket: stress, anxiety, burnout, and depression. And is there, let's say, like a system how you can self-evaluate, or this is impossible?
It's very fine line, because actually most of the clients who come to me with burnout, they have signs. A few, maybe very few signs, but they would have a few signs of anxiety, a few signs of depression, and usually a lot of stress. So there is a lot of overlap, and there isn't like a very thick line between those. The way I would differentiate each, well, we probably have to speak about each of them, but the stress, I already explained to you that, when you are just stressed, you usually are able to take care of yourself. When you start skipping self-care, that's one of the first signs that you're heading towards burnout. Because actually burnout is just caused by too much stress. Really, you go stress, and at one point burnout. And that point is usually comes after you start skipping self-care. So this is one way to differentiate. With the depression, it's a different story. Again, a lot of overlap. Both will have fatigue, lack of motivation, changes in appetite, sometimes more appetite, sometimes less appetite. Both will have changes in sleep. Again, for some people less sleep, for some people more sleep. Both will have lack of interest in pleasurable activities, some sort of disconnection, some sort of desire to disconnect from social activities. The differences now, with depression, a person is wanting to completely disconnect from everything. They are very numb, and there's no desire to do anything. Nothing interests them, basically. They are just, existing and hoping it will pass. In burnout, it is a bit different. While there is this kind of somewhat of a numbness and somewhat disinterest, in burnout, people usually do still want to do something. Usually these are very kind of low intensity activities. For example, when I was burnt out, I was super excited just to go to a park and sit there all day without doing nothing. That gave me so much pleasure and so much joy. So in a very short sentence, I could say that depression is about not wanting to do anything, and burnout is about wanting to do nothing. You see the difference?
Yeah. Can I ask you if I usually define stress and anxiety correct? So stress is that, you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, but you can pinpoint the area from which the stress is coming. Let's say work, family related, or something like this. Anxiety is where you are feeling stressed, but you cannot pinpoint. You just feel the same stress levels, but you cannot understand or pinpoint one area on which stress is coming. Is it a good definition or not?
It's a good start, yes. Yeah. But actually, people who have anxiety, they often think that they know where it's coming from. For example, if they are driving a car, they think that driving a car is very stressful, and because it's very dangerous and you can make an accident. So they know that, this is coming from driving.
Yeah, but usually it's not coming from driving. It's
yeah, I mean,
deeper.
You and I know it, but a person who's experiencing it might not necessarily spot it. It's just that there's a lot of it then.
Okay.
And it interferes with your daily life. That's the key, that it's interfering with your daily life.
What are the early signs where you already, let's say, like moving from stress, anxiety to burnout? Due to that, I think burnout is, let's say, a little bit more complicated, and maybe you need more, let's say, advanced measurements to tackle this kind of issues. So how to spot it, how to self-evaluate it?
There's actually a lot of questionnaires online. I have one as well. If anyone's interested, they can go and see it on my website. How to spot it? So I already mentioned a few things. So one is when you see that a lot of work is coming, or when you're excited about a lot of work. Then another sign is when you start skipping on self-care. So these are very early signs. That's before it happens. When it's already starting to happen, you will find that you're just not wanting to do anything, basically, or you're wanting to do nothing. You just want things to stop, like the work to stop, the children to stop. One of the interesting signs that actually not many people talk about is when people start daydreaming about getting ill or going to hospital, like, oh my God, I would love to go to hospital. I would just lay there and do nothing all day. So this is actually, not something a healthy person would daydream about. This is, again, one of the early signs that, you're already not that excited about your life and you want to disconnect from it. Put a stop on it.
Okay. So how you can recover, or is there some strategies which you can follow?
Yeah, so of course every burnout is different, and it varies a lot, but the basics are the same. And every client who comes to me will start with the basics, and there's usually some gaps in the basic self-care. So things that I already mentioned: sleep, water, food, movement, rest, pleasurable activities, and nervous system regulation. So these are the basic things that you need to start with and see where the gaps are, what I'm not doing enough, or where I'm not doing enough.
So there is no quick fix with burnout. Yeah, there is no, let's say, one self-guided health book and it's already finished.
No. You need to look at all of your life, all of your self-care, and see where the gaps are. And we start there. Once we fix those things, then we get a bit more energy, and then we have a bit more mind space to actually look at the deeper root causes, and that's what we work on as well.
Okay, so can basically a person who has a burnout, can he self-identify those places and try to work on it, or usually it is required to have some specialist or expert to help to guide him via steps?
I do not recommend doing burnout recovery alone. It's very, very helpful to have someone to support you. I know not everyone maybe can find a specialist or hire a specialist. Then you need to see if there is like a friend or a relative who can talk you through it and help you get a better look at your situation and improve it. But I definitely advise to get help, to get support, because we all have our blind spots, right? And it's very hard to see them and to fix them when you can't.
Is there any biomarkers which can show that you are burnout? Let's say heart rate variability, resting heart rate, sleeping patterns. Are there any data on wearable devices which we already have? Maybe, 80% of population already has.
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, heart rate variability, it shows stress, but it shows stress in the moment. It doesn't show if overall stress levels throughout your day, throughout your week is enough or not. And also that is very individual. Some people are tolerating more stress, some people are tolerating less stress. So actually even the same amount of stress might affect people very differently. And one person might burn out, other people might thrive in the same amount of stress. So it's kind of hard to measure it like that. There's some measures like cortisol, for example. Some people have higher cortisol, so that's a good measure that it's already, the person has already been affected. Then there is this concept called adrenal fatigue, which hasn't been completely proven by science. It's a new let's say area of research. But some functional medicine specialists, they do see that and diagnose it and treat it as well.
So if the burnout isn't treated, is it somehow reshapes your brain? What is happening there?
Yeah, so as you might already know, people who have experienced burnout, they might experience changes in prefrontal cortex that is to do with reasoning, that is to do with executive function, problem solving. So people who are in burnout, they often experience these symptoms around that it's harder to focus, it's harder to make decisions, harder to reason. And another one affected is amygdala, which is about stress regulation, nervous system regulation. So again, people who are in burnout, they have a harder time to regulate stress, to regulate their nervous system.
So coming back from, let's say, or recovering from burnout, do you need to schedule, let's say, your, I don't know, routine like training? Do you need to have like a training plan? How should, let's say, day-to-day person should perceive this kind of, let's say, journey?
It is a good thing to have a plan, but I would advise to take very small, gentle steps, because a lot of people who burn out, they are perfectionists. They are people who want to do a lot and quickly. So remember that this is what caused you burnout. So don't do the same in your recovery. Take small steps. Yes, of course, absolutely have a plan, but also don't be too attached to it. Allow yourself to take it in your own pace.
Okay, so how does, let's say, this intervenes with vagus nerve? What kind of role it can have on let's say, coming back from burnout or stress or anxiety?
Yeah, so as they said, nervous system regulation is one of the basics of burnout recovery and prevention. And vagus nerve, we already know that vagus nerve stimulation supports nervous system regulation and parasympathetic response, right? So when we are in burnout and we need to take care of all the basics, one of them being nervous system regulation. So yes, vagus nerve is very important there, because this is the nerve that regulates the nervous system, that helps us to come back to parasympathetic mode. And of course, there are many different ways we can do that.
So is there any, I don't know, some supplements which can help, from our side, of course, Pulsetto can help you to push your body from fight or flight to rest and digest, but, supplements, what any other modalities, TDCS or TMS, have you seen any good, let's say, data on that side?
So for nervous system regulation, there's so much now, so much. It's even I don't know everything that's going on. So the most popular, I would say, widespread things are, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, breath work. So these are the things that are probably most popular. Supplements, they would not directly help you regulate, but some supplements that support nervous system health might support it a little bit, but it's still nervous system regulation is a skill and a habit that you need to learn, basically.
Can you explain a little bit about vagus nerve tone, how it is compared to, let's say, like building muscles or something similar?
Yes, it is quite similar, because as I said, it is a skill and a habit. So as you train your nervous system and acquire a skill and a habit to regulate your nervous system, it becomes easier to do it in more stressful situations, but also it helps you to feel in general more calm, more relaxed, and more resilient.
And how would you, let's say, incorporate Pulsetto like lifestyle changes when you're trying to recover from burnout?
Yes, I would advise to use it, regularly, so that the person can feel how that nervous system relaxes. Because I know people in burnout, they might find it hard to find time, find mind space, find that energy and motivation to go and do yoga, go and do meditation, go and do those breathwork exercises, Then, you can just put a wearable on and it helps you to regulate, and it helps you to learn that as well. So I think if a person learns to do that with a wearable, perhaps it is then easier for them to later do it themselves as well in a situation.
Yeah, in my point of view, I try to do breath work or meditation, but somehow it's mentally very exhausting for me. It seems, let's say, like you're trying to do a Wim Hof. It's 9 minutes, but I'm using it only, let's say, once a week on Sundays. It's easier for me to go to, let's say, cold bath than to do a breath work. So, VNS is quite good tool for me to have. But we talked about symptoms and from mental, physical, but do you have your own, let's say, burnout story? How you came to this kind of, let's say, area of expertise? Usually, you have some your own problems.
Yeah, so I have a background in psychology, and I have really a lifelong interest in mental health, in human wellness. And before even burnout, I actually tried a lot of things myself even. I studied psychology, I learned yoga, I learned meditation, I learned breath work, I did a lot of different things. And actually all of them helped when I hit burnout. Because I did burn out a couple of times myself, maybe more. And, once I went through burnout, I realized that actually there isn't like one magic button. There isn't one magic method. I was trying so much, I was doing so much, to work on myself, and I still burnt out. So I realized that actually there is so much more. And once I was able to recover, and once I was able to stay well, I decided I want to share it with other people, because I know it is quite a common problem nowadays, and there aren't many solutions out there. And also because burnout is often quite a multi-layered thing, and so it's not enough to go and rest a bit. It's not enough to go on a vacation. It's not enough to go and do this meditation. It's actually quite a few things you need to do, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be difficult. It can actually be really easy and smooth if you know what to do, if you know how to do it. So that's why I decided I want to actually share it so people can have a easier time with a hard situation.
But how did you know that you're not just stressed, basically? What gave you, let's say, to this kind of conclusion that, okay, I'm burned out, I need to do something,
When I actually went on a holiday. It didn't help me recover. It just helped me to realize that I was existing on 5% battery for a long time. I thought I was existing on 60, 70, 80, but I went on holiday and I rested, and I came back and I realized like, oh my God, I was on 5%. Now I'm on like 60, 70, but there is more. And then I thought, okay, how do I maintain this energy level? How do I not go back? Because I did go back very soon after coming back. And then I realized there's more to it than going on holiday. But actually going on holiday gave me that clarity that actually I was very low before. I didn't realize how low I was.
Okay, so it's let's say like a self-realization on holiday. Okay, I'm not well. Something is wrong with me. I need to tackle this issue way more serious. It's not a stress. Yeah. So maybe coming back to more related things, do you have any patient stories or good success cases where they came out of burnout and they said, okay, I have a burst of energy or something like this?
Yes, I have a few stories. So let me tell you just one. So this client of mine, she came to me after her burnout. It wasn't her first burnout. She was already experiencing a few before, and she was taking antidepressants before to get better. And this time she just did not want to go back to antidepressants. So she was looking for different help, and she found me. So we started working with her. We started to rebuild her resources. We started to rebuild her energy levels. And in a couple of months, she was able to go back to work. Soon after, she had clarity, because that's very important to have clarity what exactly caused you burnout. A lot of people want to run away from their jobs or from their careers, but that's not always wise before you really have clarity. Even though it's very human to want to remove yourself, but it's wiser to actually have that clarity what exactly and how and why. Because when she got back to her job, that's when we were able to pinpoint what exactly was the situation. And then she made the choice to change the workplace to a different company, and she already knew what her exact needs were, because during the work with us, she realized she had ADHD, which was part of the reason why she was continuing to burn out, because she didn't know how her brain worked, what her needs were, to manage it. So yes, she was able to find a new job where that met her needs better, and then she really was thriving. So then she was able actually to even start side projects after work. She was able to renovate a farmhouse and move to that farmhouse. She's doing quite a few other projects on top of her usual work now. So yeah, she's really recovered and thriving now.
And let's say these customers of yours, do you have like regular meetings with them after it, or they just remove the burnout and say, okay, I'm good, let's meet on our next burnout? Somehow it seems for me like it sounds like going to Burning Man, but every year people are burning out. Yeah.
No, actually, people I've worked with, they have all the tools to prevent the burnout. It doesn't mean that you will never burn out, because some of the burnout causes are external, but a lot of them are internal as well. So they have all the tools to notice and prevent. And yeah, usually when a person recovers and integrates back into their usual life, that's when our work finishes. But I do like to stay in touch with my clients and see how they're doing. And I am happy to say that everyone is thriving, really. Like we do get in touch, and sometimes, yeah, they might have a more stressful time, but they don't fall into burnout anymore.
Are there any myths about burnout?
Yes, there are. So one is that only weak or lazy people burn out, when actually most of the people who burn out are very hardworking, talented, extremely interesting people. And these are my clients as well. All of my clients are incredibly talented people who work so hard, who do so much, and that's when people burn out. Actually, it's the strongest and most resilient people who go the furthest. Those usually burn out. And another myth is that burnout is about doing less. Actually, you don't need to do less work or less responsibilities. You can manage your life if you know how to take care of yourself well, how to have those skills and habits to build a system that takes care of you. You don't need to, in some cases, we have to at least temporarily change or reduce our activities, but actually it is possible to thrive and to have a beautiful life, to do all the things you want to do without burning out.
We as Pulsetto want to create our device as a mental toothbrush, due to that social media usually is not considered like a junk food, but we consider it like a junk food. When you are eating junk food, you understand that you're damaging your, let's say, body, and basically doing a lot of, let's say, bad things. But is there a link with social media and burnout? Is it, let's say, increasing the numbers or statistics?
Well, I haven't looked at statistics with social media and burnout. From experience, I could say that there is a couple of things here. One is that social media creates an unrealistic image of life, and then people try to pursue it, and then they burn out. Another thing is that social media found a way to hack our dopamine pathways, and that as well contributes to burnout.
And if you can say, let's say, one thing which would help, to maintain and not to go to burnout, let's say, like very good sleeping habits, going at the same time or exercising 2 or 3 times a week. What is your, let's say, minimum, or the one thing which is easiest or not easiest to implement, but has a biggest, let's say, impact?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. And at first I thought, no, there isn't like one. You have to look at the whole. But actually, if I had to pinpoint one thing, is really have a nice community or environment or friendships or family support, so that those people who really care about you, those people who really love you, those people who see you often, that can see, okay, you're tired or you're stressed, let me help you with this, how I can make this easier for you, or maybe it's time to take a break, darling, so this is actually what has helped me the most in my life as well, to have this beautiful community, family, friends who are very supportive, and this is something I advise other people to build around themselves. I know it's not an easy thing. It's not a one-step process that you can go and get it, but it's over time, but it really pays off. It's really the best investment, and I would say it's the biggest wealth I have and I can expect to have is the people around me.
So surrounding yourself with the people who really cares and tries to watch your signs. And maybe there is a, let's say, sign on which you can spot your close friend, your significant other, or your, let's say, family member, how to spot it on other person due to that. Usually if you're already like burnout, you can feel something, but maybe you can spot it on, your loved one.
Yeah, I think if you are close to someone, you will spot it. It's different for each person. Every person will have different signs, but if you're close to someone, you will know that they are getting stressed, they're getting a bit short, a bit snappy, they're getting a bit, some people snappy, some people irritated, some people more emotional, some people more, it looks different on each person, but if you know them, you will know.
Okay, yeah. Due to that, I understand that when you are close with someone, usually you cannot spot it immediately due to that you are talking with that person day to day, and there is a, let's say, like a slope of degrading over time, and you might think, okay, we had, last year we traveled a lot, this year we're somehow, in a funky mood or something like this, and it seems that this is also like a good thing, try to evaluate how much things are changing, what were the factors. Yeah. But, thank you very much. I had an interesting, let's say, conversation with you. I think everyone will have some knowledge which we take from this conversation, and it was a pleasure knowing more about burnout, and thank you very much for speaking with me, and I hope we will have more times speaking about burnout and maybe some tactics on which you can try to adapt to yourself.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.